So today, she looks like she's missing eyes. Today we're going to go over the Kestner Doll Company. This is a very old doll. This is not a QVC or Home Shopping Network doll. It's not one of those. And so she was probably made somewhere in the 1880s to 1890s. She is really old, guys. And so she's wearing her original dress. Now this cape I added on. This is antique, or it's at least I'm going to say about 80 years old. It does have like some dust on it and stuff. It has these buttons that go across. It's made out of wool. And I figured I'd put it on over the doll to actually preserve her as much as possible, her original dress. Now, her original dress is really gorgeous. So if you look at this material, it's some kind of like cotton. You can see all the eyelets and the embroidery. Don't know what they call this, but this is, oh my God, this is just really gorgeous. Look at the little leaves on the bottom. And again, these little eyelets. If you go underneath, the doll has layers and layers and layers of undergarments. And again, we have this gorgeous lace. Look at that. And feather stitching. And I'm not an expert on embroidery, but you can see this is really cool stuff. All right, so let's go under here. We're going to go over what Kestner dolls were and about the factory. We're going to read up on that together today. And these are pantaloons. Yes, these are ladies' underwear from that time frame. And little girls wore them as well. Many, many layers and layers and layers of undergarments. These are the original socks that the doll came out wearing in the factory. And her original shoes, made out of leather with a little buckle and a little like rosette going across. This one is missing it. It's not quite, it's not actually too distressing. It's quite common to see that. They disintegrate. Yes, anything that old disintegrates. So this is a shoulder head doll. And a shoulder head doll is a doll that's head is made out of bisque porcelain in one piece. And so it goes from the head to the neck to the shoulder, right across this area. And it's connected to a kid leather body with bisque hands. And these were common for that time frame, although they had composition jointed wood bodies as well. Now this one is probably an earlier version of these dolls, possibly just before the composition wood jointed bodies really took off and became more popular. Before that, these dolls were more, like you could say, prolifically made, although they did make them at the same time as the composition jointed bodies. The composition jointed bodied dolls with the swivel heads, this one does not have a swivel head, were actually more expensive. This would have been more cheaply made, although not cheaply made, because this is a Kestner doll, the king of doll makers in Germany. Now, what I find really beautiful about her is her teeth and the way her mouth is created. Almost like a Bru doll, which was a French doll that was very expensive. It's, I believe sometimes they call these type of Kestners, like, I forgot there's a certain term. Well, it's like a Bru Faced Doll. Don't know if you can see that. Or an A.T. Kestner. Another company, I can't even pronounce it. It's French, but it's known with the doll collector community as A.T. dolls. And look at this, the way this is carved. So the teeth were not inserted in her mouth like some of these open mouth models. Now, before the open mouth models with the teeth came in, were closed mouth dolls. This is in a time when the closed mouth dolls were just being basically phased out, and the open mouth ones with the teeth inserted started to be made. But before that, just about when this creation and this invention was made, the teeth would be carved inside the bisque porcelain like you see here. Really amazing. Look at these square cut teeth that were just carved into the bisque. And again, these eyes are just stunning. Now, this wig is original to the doll. She did have a plaster pate. And a pate is basically a lid that would have been placed on the top of the doll's head. By the way, here is her original wig. That is how it was weaved to this piece of cloth that looks almost like burlap. I can't even tell you what it is. And so the hair was actually placed and weaved onto this, or plaited, whatever you want to call it. There's a certain wording for it. I'm probably not getting it correctly. And I removed the lid when I bought this. Actually, I purchased this on eBay. And one of the killer of antique dolls is when you buy them from the internet and the seller does not remove the little lid that's on top of their head. That's generally on most old dolls made out of like some kind of cardboard, but Kesnter made them out of actually plaster of Paris. So it would be like this little dome or this lid that goes over the top of the head to give it a full round effect. Like the rest of the head is not sawn off, so the wig fits on top of that head better. Now, if you don't do this, I'm going to say it's a 50-50 shot that if you, say, win this on eBay, that the eyes are going to arrive to you broken and smashed into a million pieces inside of the head. Now, when taking off these pates, a lot of times you end up damaging them. Now, it's no problem whatsoever for a doll collector. It does not reduce the value, although you do want the original pate. It is not as important as the eyes. That's right, the eyes that are inside this doll's head, which have a lead weight attached to it. So when you lean the doll back, it sleeps. And I'll show you this mechanism in action. So if you see this lead weight that's attached to a piece of wire that's actually attached to the eyeballs, which are held in place by two glops of plaster of Paris, which also dissolves and falls out inside the doll's head. So a piece of that plaster of Paris that's on the left side and on the right side can easily get moist over the years and get weak and not cling to the side of the skull. And these eyes will fall inside the head and smash into a million pieces. That's why if you're ordering a doll on the internet, you need to ask them to stuff the inside of the head. Most people are not doll collectors that sell these dolls, and they balk at that. They do not want that. They don't want to even take responsibility of taking this pate that is glued to the top of the head off. There's a simple and easy way to get it off with a little bit of water going around the edges of the head. That's right, slowly and meticulously until you take like a little bit of a little wooden stick or something and go and pop it right off without damaging the head. A lot of people do not want to be involved in that. Can't blame them. Can't blame them one bit, but if you're going to spend $500, $600, $700, $800 on a doll or more, you're going to want them to do that. So I'm going to just show you this mechanism of sleep eye. And here we go. Hold on. All right, you ready? And so if you look at this, when you tilt the doll back, it looks like she's asleep. And they place some kind of wax, painted wax on the eyelids. Really, really cool stuff here. So like a good little doll collector, I am going to replace the paper inside the head to protect these glass eyes. Okay, the paper is placed back in the head. I'm going to show you what happens when you do that. Let's go ahead and check this out. Well, look, she doesn't sleep anymore. And as a doll collector, I really don't want her to sleep anymore because those beautiful glass eyes will most likely fall inside the head and smash into a million pieces. You can get replacement eyes, but they're current, things made recently, and you want to keep this doll as original as possible. So I'm not a big fan of human hair for wigs for dolls. Not a huge fan of it, although most dolls came with human hair wigs. I don't like them too much. They get flyaway. They lose their style. Unless you want to sit there and wash this damn thing and style it, you really don't want to do that. So I prefer to replace the wig and keep the original wig. So now she's a blonde. And I got a actual replacement mohair wig. I love mohair wigs. You can find antique versions of this on the internet, but you're going to pay a pretty penny for them. Especially even the replica ones like we see here. This will set you back a good $80. Sometimes even more. Sometimes less. You can probably find them on eBay for cheaper. But I don't know. I think she looks prettier as a little blonde. I don't know. What do you say? So I don't know. It's just like a matter of preference. Most of these dolls were brunette because most little girls, just like today, were not natural blondes. And so you'll find a lot of these dolls with brunette wigs or even light brown hair, wigs. But yeah, I'm a big fan of this blonde look. I don't know why. I'm a brunette myself, but look at this. Look how sweet she looks with the blonde wig. Now let's get more like intertwined with like figuring out what mold number she is and the history of this particular mold. Okay, so what I am going to do is I am going to remove her little coat, which I wanted to use to preserve her dress, because these dresses get dirty very easy. It's very, very, very hard to clean these carefully because they can disintegrate from age. Taking off this cape is not going to be easy to try to find the mold that's on the back of her head. Okay, you know what? I'm not messing with it. Okay, I got this doll over 20 years ago, and I can't seem to get this hook and eye without bashing into her chin and possibly breaking her chin off. Look at this. This little coat even has a little pocket. Yeah, this is very, very old. I don't know if it's as old as the doll, but it's quite old. And I'm just going to give you a little bird's eye peek of what her dress looks like. Now, she's wearing a baby doll gown and almost like a christening gown. Don't know. Hold on. Let's aim down here and let's zoom out just a little bit here. Okay. And I'm going to pull back my camera and you can see this baby doll gown and her little hands are under here. Don't know if you could see this, but I'm going to, I'm going to roll down my camera just a little bit. There we go. And she has these little bisque hands. One of the digits is chipped. That is no problem. Now, if the head had any damage to it, even a slight hairline crack or a chip, the value of the doll goes down by quite a bit. But as you can see, this is a lovely, lovely dress. Here's the top part of the dress. And we got lace. It is a little dirty, but that's to be expected. These things are generally, over 100 years old. More than 100 years old. Let's pan down here. Here's the whole gown. And we'll pan back up. And here's the whole entire gown with our gal right here. All right, I'm going to turn our girl around. Let's see if we can see if she has a mold number. Now, generally, these dolls, a lot of them, 90% of them had mold numbers. But then there's some that didn't, or some of them that just had letters. It's very hard to figure out who made your doll. So if you're trying to figure out who made your doll, look on the back of the head. If it's not on the back of the head, it should be on the shoulder area, which is a real pain in the rear end to get at. And since I put this cape on so tight, I don't think we're going to be able to figure it out. And then a miracle happened. Her cape, yes, I got to get this cape off. Now we can see how much more beautiful this doll is. Again, I put the cape on to preserve her. And here we go. Here she is. She's laying down. She's got her beautiful baby gown. It's like a christening gown. Let's flip her over. Now that we have the jacket out, we could really take a look at this. We're going to have to unbutton her gown. And let me tell you something. Living during this era must have been, by the way, I need a manicure. Don't look. It must have been a real hardship for women, because how would you button your own dress like that up to your neck without somebody having, helping you? That wasn't just going to happen. Here we go. We're missing the closure here. Bobby pin, not bobby pin, but safety pin there. And can we get a mold number? Sometimes if you look down here, sometimes under the scalloped part of the kid body, you can find that information. But look, we don't have any information. And I'm going to continue to look to try to find the marking. Well, holy moly, I really went in there. I went under that leather. I pretty much pried it up as much as I could. And I don't think we have a mold number. So I'm thinking this might be an AT Kestner. And first, let's look at an AT doll and see what the heck they look like. Hold on, I'm going to turn her around and we're going to look for an AT Kestner on the internet. And we're going to try to see, does she look like an AT? Because Kesnter tried to actually emanate a French AT doll. So let's look at her. And here's an AT doll. Okay, so closest to the Kestner I have so far, upon all my research, and again, I'm no doll expert, is this well, it's not a reproduction, but it's a Kestner version of a French Bru doll. And if you look, I mean, the mouth is not identical. The eyebrows definitely way thinner than mine, but looks similar. It like with the mouth jutting out. I'm trying to show you more pictures of this, but you can see like the mouth is jutting out. Let's try to blow it up. Very, very similarly, but not the same because the body is composition and the mouth is actually, this is like a closed mouth doll, completely closed mouth, where mine has a tiny little, teeny tiny little cutout in the mouth where the teeth are carved inside like a French Bru doll. This one completely has carved teeth in one piece with no mouth opening. But here's an example of the many faces that Kestner emanated from French doll makers. And French doll makers, of course, had price tags that were way more expensive than the German version. And here's more pictures of this particular doll on Ruby Lane being sold for $2,895. It's a 15-inch Kestner Bru style doll. Now, of course, if you're a doll collector, you're not going to be able to afford one of these dolls very easily. It's about the price of a really nice used car. And here's a French Bru doll. And you can see that. Oh, somebody's calling me right now. Okay, it's sort of like it was my father. I'm sorry, Daddy. I'm sorry. I know you're 79 and you're really old and I really should talk to you, but my video is more important at the moment. Okay, so here we go. You see that peculiar looking mouth? Well, that is a Bru doll. We even have Bru marking on the shoes and on the side of the shoulder plate, which mine may be hidden under the leather. It doesn't say Bru, of course. It will probably be a letter or a number. But, oh, Dad's calling again. Sorry, Dad. Can't talk to you right now. I will talk to you when this video is over. And here we go. Here is a Bru doll. How much is this Bru doll being sold for? Yowzers! $14,900. As you can tell, dog collecting can be very expensive. Now I'll call my dad back and we'll go into intermezzo, or intermission, as they say. Okay, Kestner dolls. One of the oldest collectibles in the toy world are dolls, and none more so than the Kestner dolls made in Germany. The company began in the very early 1800s with wood and paper mache dolls. It was a family business that continued until 1938, just as World War II was looming on the horizon. Through the years, the Kestner dolls kept up with the trends and contributed to innovations themselves. From composition to porcelain, the Kestner family was at the forefront of German doll making. They even purchased their own porcelain factory to make doll heads that they in turn sold to other doll makers. And, oh, yeah, we can finance. How did they know I really needed it? Is that a car? A car ad? 5 years special financing. Yes, I do need a car. Kestner's was one of the few German companies that manufactured its dolls from head to toe, from wig to hand, and from bonnet to shoe. The company was up to the fashion of the times as well, whether it was a baby doll, character doll, or a lady doll. When you got a Kestner doll, you got the whole package. To identify a Kestner doll is not an open and shut single marking. A company that did business for more than 100 years with more than one CEO went through several markings. According to the doll reference website, Kestner used many different doll markings: a letter only, a size number only, Kestner initials of JDK or K and Company, made in Germany, a mold number, a symbol of a crown with JDK or JD Kestner on the crown rim or on ribbons trailing beneath, Excelsior, trade name for USA distributed dolls, or any combination. And, is that a Louis bag? Okay. Some of their more notable dolls include those that were first made with a leather body, like ours, our kid body, and of course the dolls with bisque heads. The very first Kewpie dolls were German and produced by Kestner for American doll manufacturer George Borgfeld. Later, Borgfeld patented them and produced them himself. Other dolls that were more popular in the Kestner line include Lady Betty, Modish 1902, Baby Hilda 1914, and multitude of others too numerous to mention. The variety of the type of dolls is also impressive in the history of the company. Prices of these dolls are not shy and retiring, but for the most part significant. There are some offerings on eBay that are very reasonable. However, as with all antiques, be vigilant as you purchase. It all depends on proven authenticity, original clothing and accessories, and of course, condition. So if you're in the market for an antique doll and you really want a French doll but can't afford a French doll, your best bet is to go with a Kestner. A Kestner is a wonderful handcrafted doll made in the Victorian era all the way into the Edwardian and the early 20th century time period. They were made as early as the 1850s, probably around the late 1840s, all the way to the early 20th century up until about World War II. The most dolls you will find on the market were probably made between the 1890s and about 1915. Kestner dolls are a wonderful investment. Collectors love Kestner dolls. So you can't go wrong value-wise, especially on one that does not have any hairline cracks or breakage on the head. That is the most important part of the doll, the head. Now, unusual faces are ones that actually command the highest prices, or dolls that they made that aren't very plentiful on the market. Now, this particular one is unique in the fact that she has no markings. She has no mold number. So this is telling me this is an early Kestner doll. Not the earliest that was made, but more earlier than the more common ones that were found. They were probably made about 1900 to 1910. This one has an unusual mouth cutout, as you can see here, and very unusual jutting out of the cheeks. If you can see that here, almost like a mumps look. Like it looks like she caught the mumps. And again, very similar to, I thought, the A.T. Kestner, or Andre Thulier. Don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, which was a French maker. But no, she's more Bru looking. And Bru dolls, which were French dolls that are very expensive if you're going to collect, had these jutting out of the cheeks. And you can see these giant, puffy, enormously fat cheeks with a strange looking mouth, generally closed. But in this case, we have this open mouth with a teeny tiny little slit cut into the bisque porcelain with the carved teeth, which is even more fascinating to me because look at that. The workmanship on that alone is amazing. Now the eyebrows, really beautifully striated and feathered. The upper lashes painted one by one. Look at that artistry. It was not easy to sit there freehand to paint lashes like that without your hand sort of slipping a little or shaking. And those eyebrows are just stunning. Look at that. One stroke, one stroke, one stroke. You see that? So what would I sell this wonderful, beautiful Kestner for? Honestly, don't want to sell her. But I wouldn't sell her for less than $400, $500 to $600. As is, even with the little chips on the fingers, really no big deal. Her kid leather body is in great shape. She has her original outfit. Look at that. Original undergarments, original shoes, original socks, original wig. The pate I do have. I put it away in a Ziploc. And yeah, she's beautiful, but she's not Bru beautiful, if you know what I mean, or French doll beautiful. She's beautiful, but she's not as valuable as, say, a French jumeau doll. Or especially a Bru doll being like a $15,000 doll. On a good day, I could probably get $600 to $800 for her with the right collector. But really a beautiful doll. If you want to collect antique dolls and you're just starting out, go for German dolls. German dolls are the most affordable and fun to collect because they're prolifically easy to find on the market at more affordable prices, although they're not cheap to collect. They're just really not. They used to be. You can be at one time be able to get these on eBay for like $100. When I first started in, I think it was 97, 98, right around the time when eBay just started, and you had to pay for things with money orders. Yes, you didn't even pay for things with credit cards back then. You sent the seller a money order. I used to collect these and they were very affordable, not anymore. And so I stopped collecting. And there we go. This is a beautiful Kestner unmarked. I can guarantee you 100% this is a Kestner doll. I'm not a doll expert, but I know Kestner faces, And this is certainly a Kestner doll. Thank you for watching. I hope you learned something. And if you're collecting, happy collecting. Grab all the German dolls that you can afford, the best quality that you can afford, because they will reward you handsomely over the next decade or so. You can expect the prices on these to go way up. And why? Because they're getting harder and harder to find as more and more of these dolls disintegrate, get thrown out in the garbage. Yes, family members, when someone passes, they think this is QVC or Home Shopping Network dolls, and they just toss them into the garbage. And more are getting lost every single year. And pretty soon, the numbers will dwindle and dwindle and dwindle until there's very little left to buy. And then this doll will one day be worth $14,000, maybe like a Bru doll. Thanks for watching, and there'll be more videos to come if you like antiques and antique dolls.